Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, well, first off, thank you all for inviting me to be here today. My name is Seth Condley. I am originally from Muskogee, Oklahoma, and I came to Stillwater in the summer, early fall of 1996 to play football at Oklahoma State. And during that time, I met my wonderful wife, Rachel, and fortunately, she said yes whenever we asked her to get married. And during this time, whenever we were wondering where should we live, Stillwater and Payne County was basically our only option. And this is a wonderful place to live. This is where we chose to live, and this is why I want to continue to do more for the Payne County. I have as well I worked at Oklahoma State during my time when I got done playing football. As you guys can tell, I was probably an offensive lineman. I got to throw people around. No, that's a false. I was a place kicker from 96 to 2000 under Bob Simmons and Tommy Kaiser. And during that time, when I got done playing, and then I worked in the Oklahoma State Athletic Department for about 4 to 5 years till 2007. And then during that time, also, I started coaching at Stillwater High School in 2002, and then I was appointed the head coach in 2004 under Rick Fagan. I've taught at Stillwater High School, or Stillwater Junior High School and Lincoln Academy for many years, U.S. history, Oklahoma history, government, and as an active voter, when things you see in the news or hear things aren't going what you believe they should be going, I usually go vote for the other candidate. Well, this time there was no other candidate, so after thoughts and prayers with discussion with my family, I decided to step up and run for Payne County Commissioner. And this is why I'm here today at this meeting for Payne County Commissioner District 2.
All right, Commissioner Reddy, 90 seconds.
Thank you all very much. It's nice to be back. I used to be a member of this club for about 10 years, 15 years ago. It was a great time. The history is short. I'm born and raised here in Stillwater, graduated from Stillwater High School, graduated from OSU on the 6-year plan with an outdoor recreation degree. Now that plays into what I'm doing now, though, because a lot of what we did with recreation was administration and management of large facilities. And that's really what the District 2 County Commissioner does, is runs the administration building, the courthouse, the exterior of the jail, some of the other outbuildings, not the fairgrounds, but the Emergency Operations Center, things like that. The short history of the job experience comes in like this. I came out of high school into college as a Boy Scout, came out of college as a professional Boy Scout, and then a restaurant manager, then in the military as a combat engineer training in CO, and then as a technical writer for Mercruiser, and then eventually into this particular job. And all those things sound very dissimilar, but all of those things had components that fit directly into what we do as county commissioner. And I'll stop at the light. Thanks.
All right, Commissioner Reddy, the first question is yours. Implementation of the countywide radio project has experienced a number of bumps along the way. With the benefit of hindsight, how could this project have been handled differently?
Well, we actually ended up with a blessing that caused the bumps. When we first started talking about this 6 years ago, it was at a time when we needed something to fix the communication problem that we had experienced in 2012. All the fire departments couldn't communicate on the big fires that were up by Cushing and stuff. So we got all the emergency personnel together. I was included, so were the other commissioners. They didn't come, but and we talked about this is what we want to do. And then we kind of talked to people that could make that happen, Motorola in particular, and we came up with a price. And we're like, oh, well, we can't do that. But then COVID hit. And after COVID, as COVID goes on, it's like, well, we kind of put that on the back burner. But then the federal government said, well, here's a giant chunk of money. Here's $15 million to do with as you wish. Well, that would more than fund the radio program and a bunch of other stuff. And so we got all excited. But it took our order of things. We were going to try to pass a sales tax and then get the maintenance stuff in order and then get the radio system and then move forward. with the money coming in early, it kind of put the cart before the horse. So that's where the bumps started coming in.
All right, Mr. Condley.
Well, you are correct. Hindsight is 20/20, but looking back, there should have been a plan in place with the money first. We have 4 sales taxes that are going on right now. There should have been a plan in place, how you were going to do that, what were you going to do with the money, how we're going to distribute the money outside of the radios. Again, I'm 1,000% for the radios. That is much needed in this community for our first responders to communicate with each other. So that was a good thing, but the communication with the other commissioners, again, there are rules and the regulations you can't communicate with each other face to face, but there are ways to do that with their deputies, and that was not being taken care of. To communicate with other officials, to make sure everybody's on the same page, to just an open transparency to make sure that there is a way for things to be done in a cleaner, more efficient way than what it has been, and it should be completed by now, and it's not. And so those are things, have a proper plan and execute it at a proper pace to move forward as a county.
All right, next question is yours, Mr. Condley. Following up on the previous question, the Stillwater News Press has reported several smaller county municipalities have expressed concern about the cost of maintaining the new radio system and the language in the county proposed memorandum of understanding. If you win this election, how will you work to improve planning, communication, and coordination with the communities in the county?
Well, that's a great question, because again, we mentioned, I think this should have been discussions before with the money that we got from ARPA. Should have been discussions, how are you going to do this before? And these are things that were not taking place ahead with other commissioners, with other officials and stakeholders that were involved. And so having a proper plan, and then getting other people involved, with me opening doors, getting back into people that probably would need to be involved in these discussions. Those are things I'm looking to do, to talk to those people, to open doors back up and get this transparency and go back in, and maybe again, a plan in place before all this was going, and that could have helped out tremendously as we move forward with this ARPA money.
Commissioner Redding.
Well, contrary to what Mr. Conley said, we did have a plan. And as all things happen in government, things change, things don't happen like you think. People get involved that are new to the idea. And basically, we are in communication. Now, this idea that you can talk to each other through your deputies sounds real nice, but it's still skirting the idea of the open meeting, open record law. And I'm not real fond of skirting the law, especially when it can actually put you in jail. So, no, we don't communicate as much as we would like to outside of the meetings, but we do communicate, and we have meetings. And if all the other commissioners would come to those meetings, we would have the opportunity to communicate. Getting the other commissioners to show up has been the biggest problem. Part of it is the complexity of the system. They don't understand it. Part of it is they would like to spend money in their districts. In some cases, we had a system set up for $9.6 million, and one of the commissioners wanted to save money by putting it out for bid, and then by going out to state contract, and it only added $3.5 million to the price. So it's government. Government doesn't always work the way you want, and that's kind of what this program shows.
All right, Mr. Conley. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about 3 things at once. Mr. Redding. Recently, a member of the Sheriff's Office staff was charged with embezzling more than $137,000 over 13 years. What steps should be taken to strengthen internal controls to prevent a reoccurrence?
A lot of those controls have actually been taken in place right now with Glenna Craig and her staff. It's become incredibly difficult to do the basic functions of getting your bills paid, but at the same time, it becomes even more difficult to do anything that's remotely out of line. And I've got to give it to the lady who has allegedly, since she's going through trial today, allegedly was able to abscond with this much money. The different ways that she did it, the different avenues that she took, the different accounts that she manipulated money out of was masterful. I mean, just absolutely amazing. And so allegedly, if in fact it happened the way the auditors said it did, it would be hard to detect that in the regular flow of business. I think the steps that Glenna Craig has taken so far will alleviate the opportunity for a lot of that. So,
Conley.
All right. Well, this is a good question because it's been forefront of our papers and in our county for a while. I know there are currently rules and regulations in place, but I think you need to continue to make sure that not 1, 2, 3, 4, there are multiple people involved in the transactions and the purchasing agents and receiving agents, that there's not one person that is really, that can do this. And we have that in place, but continue to build upon that. And I think there should be, and I don't know what, I'm not privy to what Glenna Craig and her crew do, but I know there should be probably one person that when invoices come in, they should be giving that person, one person in control to see this and receiving and stamp off on that. But also I think there should be, I would look into the possibility of banning the stamps outside of an open meeting. I think every electoral office, I would look into that, and maybe where that's an open meeting, you're stamping documents and not behind somebody else's door. Where I would like to look into that as a possibility to help to eliminate embezzlement.
All right, Mr. Conley, we are one of only 9 Oklahoma counties to utilize a budget board where all 8 elected officials determine the budgets and make recommendations to the county commission on policies. Is this a strength or a weakness for our county?
Doing my research, looked at doing the numbers, I believe it's a strength because you get more transparency, you get more accountability, more people involved, more stakeholders involved in the budgeting aspect of the county monies, especially with as much monies going through our county. This is in my opinion, the more people you have involved in a decisions, especially with the 8 elected officials and the county commissioners, I like having the budget board. Now there are pros and cons for both, but I think you can look on either side, and in the end, what I've looked at is for an excise board or a budget board, really this just comes down to the personalities on the board. Are people willing to work together? Are you willing to share ideas and put your egos to the side? And this is why I think the budget board, in my opinion, works masterfully.
Commissioner Reddy.
it would be much easier if the commissioners could just divvy out the money, but it would not be as good as the system that we have now. The idea that you present your budget to the entire group, everybody gets to see how you intend to spend money, everybody has a little bit of input, and it happens for everybody. Everybody gets to do the same thing. I believe it is a strength. It keeps everything very visible. It also makes things, you really have to be able to justify how you want to spend money. And that's important with your spending your all's money. Being able to justify, yes, I need this, or yes, this needs to happen, and having other people agree with you makes it very solid. So yeah, it's a not a fun system to watch, but it is a very useful and very successful system for Payne County.
All right, Commissioner Redding. The budget process each year includes discussions about drawing down available cash funds before tapping the general fund. The Sheriff's Office has $3 million in its cash funds and another $11 million in the Facility Authority Fund, which is earmarked for jail operations. However, each of the last several years, the Payne County Sheriff's Office has requested and received $1.6 million from the general fund for jail operations. Is this a good use of limited county funds?
Well, we have to also take a step to the side and recognize that constitutionally the Sheriff's Office gets whatever they want for the jail. I mean, first and foremost, any dollar that comes in the county, if they want it, they can take it. They can take it. By giving them, the 1.6 to operate, that's a small price to pay considering the entire cost of the jail. The $11 million in the Facilities Authority is coming down fast. That used to be the money that we're paying off the buildings with, and any excess goes into the jail for operations and upkeep. That money is no longer coming in. The last time the voters voted on that money, it goes to the roads and bridges. We had just come off of a lot of flooding, a lot of damage, and so it goes to that instead. So that fund doesn't grow anymore. It's not replacing itself for the future, and they have expenses going on right now, like they're taking the 2 recreation centers and making dormitories out of them, adding about 40 more beds to the jail, which will probably increase the longevity of the jail by another 10 years. There's also some anticipated repairs that are going to be going on that money is earmarked for, the $11 million. So it needs to stay, and the 1.6 is not a bad deal.
Mr. Condley.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure, this is the longest one. I'd be glad to.
You're welcome.
The budget process each year includes discussions about drawing down available cash funds before tapping the general fund. The Sheriff's Office has $3 million in its cash funds and another $11 million in the Facility Authority Fund, which is earmarked for jail operations. However, each of the last several years, Payne County Sheriff's Office has requested and received $1.6 million from the general fund for jail operations. Is this a good use of limited county funds?
Thank you. From my research and discussions with county officials and elected officers, looking at usually the best option is try to use your cash fund first and get that down as low as you can, but that is not also necessarily the best choice. In this situation, there's really no easy answer because 100% support our sheriff and the law enforcement. When I become county commissioner, I want to meet with Sheriff Harper and these gentlemen, the first responders, and see what the needs they need and go through the jail and understand why they are asking for additional funds before we make a decision. But I would always want to know why are decisions being made and meet with these people and in general, and that before you use a cash fund or go to general fund, all that's where I believe. But it's not an easy answer. So I would want to make sure I understand why they need it and why they're asking for additional funds when they have possible funds there to use. That's where I would stand.
Mr. Conley, county commissioners across the state are lobbying to remove the cap on the County Bridge and Road Improvement Fund. Why is this important, and how will you help the effort?
This is another good question. In talking with the other commissioners, they are for this, and I'm for this as well, to remove the cap, because talking to them in 2019, the cost to asphalt 1 mile of road was about just under $200,000, like 180 something thousand. Now it's almost $400,000, and this money is used for those, and so the expenses have gone up, and so if you can remove this cap, then it opens up possibly new funding revenues and resources for our county roads and bridges for District 1 and District 3 for Commissioner Cavett and Commissioner Markham. And so I would be all for meeting with legislators, talking with them, seeing what possible sources, what they need, but that is where, talking with these, our commissioners, they are for it, and I would be for it as well.
Commissioner Redding.
The cap was put into place after a great deal of money was cut. So we had a budget, then we had money taken away, then we had the cap put in place. At the same time, the costs were going up. And it made it very difficult for roads and bridges to be done at the same level of frequency and distance as we had been doing. Getting the cap off of there would remove the restriction and get it back up to where it could be or should be, and allow us to actually do the kinds of road work that we need to do to maintain the county highway system. It's not a lot of money. It doesn't go that far. It's not like all of our roads would be paved if we got the cap off, but we would be able to maintain our roads and bridges at the level that we need to keep it safe for our citizens with that money. And so to make that happen, of course, we talk to our legislators, we talk to people, we try to get things going with our commissioner group, ACO, the Association of County Commissioners of Oklahoma. We have a representative that goes around and talks to everybody up there as well, and we support that entirely.
All right, Commissioner Redding, the county commissioners serve as the trustees of the Payne County Economic Development Authority. How is the authority used to stimulate economic development?
First and foremost, the Economic Development Authority is the bonding authority for the state through the county. And so if somebody wants to do a bond, like the new high school bond, the $79 million bond, it comes through the Economic Development Authority. Now, there are extra monies that come in when bonds happen. Like every bond that comes through, whether it be the Meridian or high school or wherever, they pay X amount of dollars per year for an annual audit. We also run the audit, an independent audit of that bond. With the extra money of that, we then spread it around to individuals or groups or other opportunities that could fund economic development. And we're not limited, all you have to do is get 3 votes for that. And so we look at different things. We funded the opening match of a roller derby game, because once they get that first match, they get the money and then they are able to support themselves. But in that, they bring hundreds of people to Stillwater to stay in the hotels, eat in restaurants and things like that. We've done other things as well.
Mr. Condley.
The Payne County Economic Development Fund it's a wonderful resource. It's here to promote Payne County, promote industrialization, promote jobs, and that's what they're doing. I know, and talking to Commissioner Cavett and Markham, they love this fund. It's a good thing to do for the county. Currently, the Stillwater Public Schools is going through there for their bond, and I believe it's today they're actually signing to sign the deal and agreement. In my research on that for that money to come in, I believe it's 20 years, and then. But again, you could use this as a grant application as well for people to apply, and so there are some rules and regulations for this, and which is a good thing. But I think you could also, with my sporting background, and you could bring some sporting events in here. If you can do roller derby, then we could possibly host some other events to continue to bring people like Stillwater. It's located perfectly in Oklahoma. We should have more things, and that's working with Oklahoma State. I have a lot of connections to Oklahoma State to possibly be able to use their facilities and connect that with the visitors convention, getting people here in town. I don't know why we don't host more of the high school and college events here, but that is where I would hopefully try to stimulate economy in Payne County.
All right, Mr. Conley, there have been incidents all across the country of violence and threats at election board offices. How can security of the county administration buildings be improved, particularly as it relates to the election board?
It's a wonderful question. I've done a lot of research on this one right here, and currently in District 2, we are violating this state law. We are failing to protect our election board. In state law, it is mentioned you're supposed to protect them, the election board, along with the DA, the sheriff, if they're in a different building. And currently we all know that our election board is in a different building than the county building, Payne County building. And right now, this is a failure of District 2. It should be done. There should be, and it is not the sheriff's fault. It is not, they are willing to step in and fill in metal detector, have a sheriff on duty, have one entrance, and currently that is not being done when the money or the funds are there in place. We know this, and it's not currently done to protect. And again, its election board is there, but you're protecting all the other offices that are there right now. And so that is one thing, probably one of the first things I would look to change and get it done as soon as possible.
All right, Commissioner Redding.
Well, Mr. Conley's research has failed him miserably in this case. It is the sheriff's responsibility. District 2 was working on security for the building, and then as investigation was coming into, like, how do we do this, it came up that actually the sheriff is in charge of that, and the sheriff has sole responsibility of providing that security. It's not District 2. In fact, District 2 was doing it, and then it was taken away from us. So It is not a failure on District 2's part. We have been looking at how to secure this building for about the last 10 years. But the problem is the building was built when everybody was sane and normal and wanted to do business. And it was not set up for security. The halls are too narrow. There's too many exits and entrances. It's just very difficult to find a way to secure this building. And in fact, we were looking at putting an extra door in the back of the election board. But let me also say this. We took this situation and turned it into a training exercise through emergency management. We brought in I need to finish this statement real quick. We brought in over 40 different organizations and people to run a simulated exercise. What do we do if someone takes over the election board office? And it was a great exercise, and the person that put it on and put it together primarily was our emergency
Commissioner
management
Redding, you
director.
need to finish this up in your closing statement.
Okay,
All right.
I'll finish that up in the closing statement.
All right. Moving on. Payne County, Commissioner Redding, Payne County is one of only 3 counties in the state that has a district with no roads responsibilities, and it happens to be the district for which you are running. Talk about the responsibilities of this office and how you plan to approach the job over the next 4 years.
Probably much the same as the last 4 years, and the last 4 years before that, and the 4 years before that. We have no roads or bridges, so we work with the other 2 districts to do whatever they need as far as support for their roads. Since we do basically the buildings, that's what we focus on, and since they do basically the roads, that's what they focus on. We look at what the buildings might need and the budgets that are necessary for that, and we take that into account. I'm not really sure what the gist of the question is, but we've been doing it for 12 years. The buildings are much more efficient. They're much more manageable. They require less maintenance than they ever have before, and we continue to do that. And to finish the statement and the last thing, the Emergency Management Deputy Director not only put on a great program, but he also won a national award for the quality of the program. And the state election board officer at the state level took that exact exercise and took it out to the other election boards across the state because it was so helpful in planning for a situation like that. So,
Mr. Condley.
Can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Payne County is one of only 3 counties in the state that has a district with no roads responsibilities, and it happens to be the district for which you are running. Talk about the responsibilities of this office and how you plan to approach the job over the next 4 years.
Well, first thing, I'm going to come with honesty, transparency, and I don't think you guys want the same thing that's happened the past 10, 12 years. Not being in the office, doors are closed, not answering Open Records Acts. These are things that I will do. Open communication with commissioners, repairing fractured relationships with elected officials. Those are what I plan to do. I plan to look into how come you're talking about this this training exercise. My understanding from my records request and looking into it, it was approved by the budget board to put a door in there, but it was taken away for somehow. The PO was not approved. And why was that not taken care of? Why was that removed? That's a safety issue that should be taken care of. And those are things, just honesty, transparency, meeting with the people. My first thing I would do is meet the people that I'm working with. They're part of the team. I am not the leader. I am helping them, guide them, and I'm one of them. And my ego will not be in the way, and we're going to move things forward for this great county.
All right, Mr. Conley. Well, this is the last question. For many years, there have been a number of stories in the local newspapers that have described very public and contentious disagreements between county officers. If you're the successful candidate, what will you personally do to improve relationships inside county government?
These back-to-back questions kind of tying together a little bit, Mr. Clark. Again, with my relationship and coaching background, being at Oklahoma State, being in Stillwater for as long as I have been, we have wonderful people here, and they want to do wonderful things for the county. And I'm willing and ready to meet with those people. I'm willing to meet with all the people I've not currently met and figure out these solutions. And that is what I want to do. But meeting people and being honest, having an open door, my cell phone, answering, being available in the office, not having a sign up. I will be there. I will be present for people to come talk to me if you need to. I can meet you wherever you want, barring some family tragedy or something, or my wife is mad at me, which it happens a lot. But those are things I'm looking at for, and then the safety issues, try to get that nailed, figure out what's going on there. How come some of these things have not been taken care of, especially with the election board. But an answer kind of back, it is legal for commissioners to communicate with the second deputy. There's nothing illegal about that. I could communicate with Commissioner Cabot's deputy back and forth. That is not skirting the law. It is actually, you can do this, and it's actually requested and to help move things along in county government.
Commissioner Reddy.
The door that keeps getting referenced was shut down by the state fire marshal. The door that we wanted to put in was simply a door, and you'd think a door would be easy, but this particular door would have cost $250,000 to retrofit the rest of the building up to the code, and it did not seem to be a $25,000 or $250,000 door. I know that the lives are important, but we also have to look at the money involved, and that's pretty much shut that down. And about the same time, the sheriff's department took over the safety of the building. And I missed the rest of the question. I'm sorry. Can I use a second to hit the high point of the question?
Sure. The question was about relationships between county officers, essentially, and contentiousness.
Okay. If you've ever been involved in politics, especially at a level that we're at right now, you got a bunch of strong people with a bunch of strong opinions and a bunch of strong ideas, all wanting to get theirs across. And so, yeah, we bump heads, but at the end of the day, at the end of the budget, we get things done. And that's pretty much it. It's politics.
All right, we're going to proceed to closing statements. Commissioner Reddy, you're first. We'll have 90 seconds, and it's all yours.
Okay. Well, I want to again thank you all very much for allowing us to be here. We live in very interesting times. We live in very troubling times. We live in times where inflation is eating up the value of the money, and the just expenses of things keeps the money that we have available even lower. And so with these things going on, with the weather going on, with all the things that are going on, the question becomes, who do you want taking care of things when things go sideways, when things go bad? I've got 12 years of writing budget, 12 years of taking care of buildings, 12 years of doing the work, and I'm asking for 4 more. Also, I come in with a strong preparedness background, strong military background, strong emergency management background. I was in charge of emergency management for 10 years. And we planned for all sorts of things. We even had a meeting around my dinner table 8 months before COVID became a thing, playing out how we're going to approach this, how we're going to do things if this actually becomes the kind of disaster that it eventually became. And so I ask for your vote, I ask for your support, and we'll keep Payne County going. Thank you very much.
Mr. Condley, closing statement.
Well, first off, again, thank you all for allowing me to be here at this wonderful venue. My candidacy for Payne County Commissioner District 2 was based upon when you hear things that as a voter and as a taxpayer, things aren't going how they should be, change needs to happen. And right now, change needs to happen. And that change will be me being in the office, being accountable, being open, being transparent, being there for the taxpayers, being there for the safety of our buildings, for the safety of the people that work there. That is what you can count on from me. I will be there. I will answer. Got any questions, I'm available. And then mending relationships with my background in coaching in Oklahoma State and just in general working with people, we can get it done. Yep, you're not going to agree on everything, but you can still do it without an ego, and you can still move things forward as a county. And so change, you want status quo, that's not me. You want change, vote for Condley on June 18th.
All right, thanks to both of you for being here today. The June 18 primary election will determine the winner of this seat, since only Republicans filed. The winner will not take office until January. The candidates will be available for a few minutes at the conclusion of our meeting. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.